Good morning and Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. This report, policy briefing paper, booklet, whatever you may like to call it, the evolution of the enactment and implementation status of the right of access to information legislation in Pakistan, basically is closely linked, this issue is closely linked with the earlier session pertaining to economic development. As we know, the judicious utilization of resources, and in our case, very precious resources, few resources, is dependent on citizens' right to know, transparency, that they are being properly spent. Every penny needs to be accounted for. Money is to be followed. And this is only possible when there is free flow of information from government to citizens in a proactive manner, but at the same time, citizens should be able to seek information at the time of their choosing, on the topic of their choosing, from their respective governments. And as my Mr. Phillips was sharing, that Pakistan has certain commitments regarding international commitments on certain human rights issues. So Pakistan has a commitment under UDHR, ICCPR, and UN Convention Against Corruption, it's Article 10, SDGs, and even UN Convention Rights of Persons with Disabilities, it's Article 21, that citizens should have the right of access to information. So this book basically encapsulates the enactment, the quality of the enactment, how these laws have come about, and also its implementation status, as the title itself suggests. So its objective was to see for the policymakers, donors community, civil society actors, how these laws that we have at federal level, and basically in last 21 years, how these laws have come about, what were the earlier, what I call them first generation RTI laws, how did they come about, and how the second generation RTI laws, say from 2013 onwards, what's the difference? What led to the relative improvement in these laws? And what is the implementation status of these laws? And how can we improve it? Because, if you see this book basically is, the report is about, it captures the responses and attitudes of the principal actors involved, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, and also the political parties, and how they have responded to citizens' right of access to information. And one concludes that, the response has been quite ambivalent, all of them. And, there have been, on one hand, we see very positive developments, and on the other hand, we see backtracking on the public pledges. So basically, it starts with the the world at first, although in all religious scriptures, we are told to follow, to seek the truth, and in essence, right to information or transparency is also about seeking the truth. And in secular world, or in secular terminology, or from point of view, we see it was Sweden in 1766 when a politician, a philosopher, and a clergy with the name of Anders Chydenius, who who played an instrumental role in the enactment of world's first ever law, which gave citizens right to have access to public documents by paying the cost price of those documents and without having to state the purpose of seeking access to those documents. And when we juxtapose that 1766 Swedish law with the bills that were proposed, with the ordinance that were promulgated, with the laws that were enacted in Pakistan, say after 250 years, it is quite baffling. I mean, the quality of thought that went into that 1766 Swedish Freedom of Press Act and the lack of it in 250 years. Even, when Professor Khurshid in 1990, when he tried to introduce first time in Pakistan, the right of access to Freedom of Information Bill, I mean, there is quite a major, it would be understating that there is a major departure between the quality of these two laws, 250 years apart. It's totally, I wanted to know what this law is all about, this bill, that the first attempt that was made in 1990. So that bill, now, it was not about right to information. It was aimed at curbing the right to information law because, it specifically mentioned, exempted certain departments, or you can say institutions like Shariat Court, Superior Judiciary from the purview of the bill. And it also said that, this information will not be, the laws, the bill will not have overriding effect, which is, basically stating that if does not if this right to information law does not have the overriding effect, it means that it stands nowhere because the right to information law is the law that should be the final word on whether the requested information or how the information is to be disclosed. So then again, another attempt was made in 1997 when otherwise an excellent jurist, late Fakhruddin Ji Ibrahim, who was Justice of Supreme Court of Pakistan, when he was law minister in the interim government, he introduced an ordinance. And by the way, these were not available in public domain, the Professor Khurshid bill and the ordinance promulgated in 1997. I had to submit an RTI request to the respective departments, Senate of Pakistan and Ministry of Law and Justice, to get access to the copies, and they are included in the annexures. These laws were, the law itself, this ordinance, again, the second attempt was not up to the mark. It was an extremely badly drafted and opposite to the purpose kind of an attempt. But then we see major development in 2002 when, as a part of a conditionality of Asian Development Bank, we, for the first time in Pakistan was the first country in South Asia which had this right to information law in the shape of an ordinance, which was ineffective, but we were able to use it in long-term partnership with FNF. We developed, civil society in Pakistan developed mechanism to analyze these laws. This Freedom of Information Ordinance 2002, and Mukhtar Ahmed Ali Sahib, who was moderating the first session, has been the leading force behind the removal of these earlier first generation RTI laws. And then 2013 onwards, we have very good legislation. I've been told that we are short of time because we couldn't manage proper time in earlier session because of the very interesting topics that we are talking about. So I will shorten my presentation. I was given 20 minutes, but you can see the report itself. It's there, and it's a public document, I believe, and it's a living document. I think it's last 2-3 chapters, they can serve as a review of right to information legislation, both from the point of view of the enactment and implementation status every year, and it can be updated. And you are all welcome to give us feedback on to FNF and CPDI, how can it be improved. Thank you very much.